Hey everyone, Mike here. Welcome to another episode of MIJ Supplemental, where we dig into the finer details of vintage Japanese guitar production. Today, we'll be unpacking the little-known partnership between the CF Martin Guitar Company and Tokai, dating back to 1972. This partnership minted Tokai as Martin's official distributor within Japan, and resulted in both early Sigma-branded instruments and the Cat's Eyes guitar line, which began in 1975 and extended into the 1980s. This story takes us back to the Tokai factory in Hamamatsu, Japan, where we were granted access to Tokai's archives, unearthing a treasure trove of never-before-seen images and documents. These included a photo album of Tokai's craftspeople and executives on a trip to the Martin factory in Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the early 70s, and detailed technical documentation for the range of Tokai-made and Martin-licensed Sigma models. These documents were a revelation when we found them, and we're excited to share them with you. When one thinks of Japanese guitar production, it's highly likely that electric guitars are the first to come to mind, as they've historically dominated the majority of production. And yet, premium acoustic guitars produced in Japan remain largely overlooked. Tokai's Cat's Eyes models are among the very best produced in Japan, and we have in hand one of their rarest, highest-tiered models, the CE2000T, replicating one of Martin's rarest models, the 00045. With all solid wood construction, abalone marquetry, a small maple bridge plate, and a lacquer finish, there's little to separate this premium Tokai from its Martin-branded equivalents. Much has been written about Japanese guitar manufacturing in the 1970s and the knock-on effects of many USA brands finding themselves for the first time in competition with Japanese craftsmanship and a lucrative exchange rate. And while brands like Fender and Gibson spent the 1970s pushing back against the colloquially named lawsuit guitars from various Japanese firms, Martin was quick to see an opportunity, cementing their partnership and distribution deal with Tokai circa 1972. It's important to draw a clear distinction between guitars produced to copy USA-made legacy models and cut into that market share, and guitars officially licensed by a USA manufacturer. The Sigma and Cat's Eyes guitars produced by Tokai for Martin fall firmly in the latter camp. And the Sigma instruments came first, allowing Martin to stay competitive and produce instruments at lower price points based on their most popular dreadnoughts. Yet by 1975, Tokai had debuted their Cat's Eyes line, which was, to the best of our knowledge, designed only for Japanese distribution, subsequently increasing both their rarity and obscurity on this side of the pond. One head-scratcher of a question that we can cross off the list right off the bat is why Cat's Eyes? How does that name infer vintage Martin guitar heritage? This was an aha moment for myself while researching this topic, and it turns out that Cat's Eyes refers to the shape of one of Martin's pre-war fretboard inlays. While some inlay shapes are referred to as snowflakes or notched diamonds, the pair of slender ovals has picked up the name Cat's Eyes. Now, as to why Tokai chose to use the same font as Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather film for the Cat's Eyes text is anyone's guess.
That I cannot do.
With the Cat's Eyes line, it's clear that Martin provided Tokai full access and every resource to produce the most faithful instruments possible. And this relationship was something Tokai wanted to document for posterity. These images of Tokai's craftspeople touring the Martin factory have been carefully stored in Tokai's archive for over 50 years, as have the technical specs for the Sigma line guitars, preserved on pristine onion skin paper. Tokai's reverence for the Martin brand and its heritage was reflected in some subtle ways across the Cat's Eyes branding, with at least two variants of interior branding touting the Martin connection. Some bodies were stamped Cat's Eyes CF Martin & Co. Japanese counterpart, while a model label was also used reading, "This guitar, Cat's Eyes, is a masterpiece in folk guitar, elaborately manufactured by Hans craftsmen aiming at a revival of the old Martin guitar." But by far my favorite nod to Martin's heritage is the riveted brass case badge. The case itself loosely replicates the vintage Martin cases manufactured by Harptone, complete with green plush interior, and the badge reads, "This is the exact replica of the Martin guitar case of the good old days." The Cat's Eyes line was fairly extensive, with the majority of the line focusing on dreadnoughts, many of which had upscale inlay and appointments keeping pace with Martin's most storied models like the D45. These were advertised in a joint catalog, with genuine Martin branded guitars too. The dreadnought lineup even extended to obscurities like the CE1000S, a replica of Clarence White's famed 1935 Martin D28, complete with enlarged sound hole and inlayless fingerboard. Which brings us back to our CE2000T, a guitar that cost a whopping 200,000 yen, and with good reason. While the bracing itself is fairly standard, rear shifted, measuring 0.275 inches and without any scalloping, the solid spruce top and Indian rosewood back and sides produce a remarkable tone with Martin's 000 body shape. Genuine ebony is utilized for the fingerboard and bridge, and the guitar has a gloss lacquer finish too. And as was standard for many of the higher tiered Cat's Eyes models, the guitar features Martin's torch inlay on the headstock. It's meticulous inlay work, and in fact we found the Cat's Eyes headstock marquetry to be more exacting than some Martin branded models. By the latter half of the 1980s, the Sigma line had long since moved on to Korea and elsewhere, and Tokai discontinued the Cat's Eyes line as well. And while Cat's Eyes production would eventually start up again in China, there's no mistaking these guitars for the earlier Japanese-made counterparts. We appreciate you tuning in for our journey today through Tokai's vintage acoustic guitar production and their fascinating partnership with Martin. For more on our Tokai guitars and everything we have here at the Guitar Bar, please check out mmguitarbar.com, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content.